Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rukak Wadash. I want to give double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who rule well, and salutations of much love to the rest of you sincere Akim, pushing the word in truth and sincerity. This is the cleric Azar coming at you with another lesson. I'm continuing my lot to bring you my ongoing series from excerpts of Hollywood, this factory of perverseness, another observation of predictive programming, how art imitates life and vice versa. Just a reminder, the purpose of my videos is to show correlations. A correlation is an observation of a mutual relationship or connection between two or more things. I use cinema to extract or extrapolate a narrative. I'm not glorifying the Hollywood culture or life. I have a wide knowledge of films, whether they be foreign or domestic, and I just use them as an example to bring out similarities and those correlations. To quote Cecil B. DeMille, the greatest source of material for motion pictures is the Bible. I call this lesson The Wasteland Approaches Part 4. An image I have on display is from a film I watched in the past. Of course, being in the truth, I reflected on this particular movie. This movie was released on April 27th, 2021. The title of it is Justice Society World War II, directed by Jeff Webmaster. But anyway, technically, this was an animated DC showcase short. The real title is Kamandi, the Last Boy on Earth, based on this comic book I wasn't really familiar with. I guess it came out around the same time I was born. But it was included with this particular film I picked up, Justice Society World War II. And it's basically this Kamandi guy is a fictional comic book character, but he was created by Jack Kirby and published by DC Comics, but the bulk of his appearances occurred in the comic series, as you can see the title, the Kamandi, The Last Boy on Earth, which ran from 1972 to 1978. And basically this boy who you see on this little craft here, this little raft I should say, Salakia, he's a young hero living in a post-apocalyptic future, and after a huge event called the Great Disaster, humans have been reduced back to savagery in a world ruled by intelligent, highly evolved animals. Now, it's interesting enough, when I first was watching this particular movie, I was seeing the similarities between that and the Planet Apes. When I went ahead and went into the history of it, it turned out that this DC editor by the name of Carmine Infantino had tried to acquire the license to publish the Planet of the Apes comic books. And when this failed to happen, he asked Jack Kirby for a series with a similar concept. And Kirby did not see the films, but he knew the rough outline, okay? And he had also created a very similar story called The Last Enemy, which I got to find eventually myself. But this predated the original Planet of the Apes novel, which I got to check that out myself. And he also used an unused comic book strip that was created, well, he created back in 1956, titled Kamandi of the Caves. Ain't that something? Kamandi of the Caves. And you know where Esau dwells, in the caves. But Kirby brought all those elements together to create Kamandi. And although his initial plan was not to work on comic books themselves, he was working on this title called The Forever People, and it was canceled, and it freed him up to do this Kamandi. But basically, this is the first issue of this particular comic book. And as you can see, you see the Statue of Liberty in the background. You see the water is really high. And of course, like I was mentioning, this is in a post-apocalyptic future. You see the buildings in the background. They're all tore up and they're in ruins. And I'm surprised I didn't come across this in my early days as a youth with comic books, but just recently I saw this and just thought about making a video about this. But it just shows you how Esau knows his ultimate future. He knows the ultimate future of America, that it's going to be destroyed. And it's just not a coincidence that he comes out with different films, television series, comic books, and graphic novels that detail this particular event. But when I look at this particular picture, I think of Revelation chapter 17, verse 1, even though it's symbolic, but in real life terms, the Statue of Liberty is probably going to be destroyed. This whole entire land of America known in the Bible was Babylon, Nineveh, and so forth. It's going to be totally decimated and turned into a vast desert wilderness. But like I said, when I look at this particular image, I think of Revelation chapter 17, verse 1, where it reads, "And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." Okay, and that signifies Babylon the Great, aka America. Okay, in the future of World War III, and it being destroyed by thermonuclear destruction. And this particular comic book, it's not detailed what actually caused the great disaster, but it is detailed that there was some type of radiation. And hey, what comes from thermonuclear war? Radiation. Okay, and basically this country as we know it, and it was at its height, but now it's at its decline, and it spread a lot of greed, and that's basically covetousness. And Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 13 brings it out, where it says, "O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures," talking about the richness of America, and all different types of things that it dealt in, specifically starting off with slavery. "Thine end is come," and this is what we're experiencing now with decline, "and the measure of thy covetousness." All right, and that's talking about acquiring all that greed. Okay, and that's what the mass population of this particular country is about, just massive greed. And that's how this whole country was started. And that's how it's going to end. All right, this greed is going to turn itself upon itself. When you read the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 9, it reads, "Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil." Okay, and that's that American dream. It's really an American nightmare. Okay, it's based on woe to the city, the bloody city. Okay, and this is that particular city, this particular nation, or this particular government system that it's under, and its whole philosophy and everything that is based upon, it's about to be turned on its own head. Okay, when you look at Jeremiah chapter 22 verse 13, it reads, "Woe unto him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness, and his chambers by wrong, that useth his neighbor's service without wages." You see that? Uses his neighbor's service without wages. All right, that's basic slavery. "And giveth him not for his work." And even the current jobs we have now, people don't get paid the amount that they should be getting deserved. Okay, but yeah, these nuclear missiles are gonna take all that out. Of course, the MOTB has to be established first, and the system itself that is based on this fiat currency system is going to fail, and they're going to try and pull that great reset. Okay, and the next thing you know, the nuclear missiles are going to be shot off, not immediately afterwards, but shortly afterwards, I should say. When you read the book of Joel, chapter 2, start at verse 3, "A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, nothing shall escape them." And like I said, that's the future of America, to be a desolate wilderness. And that fire that devoured before them, and behind them a flame burneth. It's talking about those missiles. All right, it's going to turn into this desert wilderness. Well, I'm going to end it on this. And it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. But hey, it's the judgment of the Most High. And I always like to end my videos on a good note with some type of silver lining. And there is light at the end of the tunnel. So in other words, there is a happy ending. In the book of Revelation, starting at chapter 9, we're going to read from 15 all the way to 19. "And the four angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men." How is that third part of men going to be slayed? By thermonuclear destruction. Okay. Verse 16, "The number of the army, the horsemen, were 200,000. I heard the number of them. That's going to be the amount of the missiles that are going to be launched. Verse 17, "And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth, of brimstone, and heads of the horses were as the heads of lions. And out of their mouths issued fire, and smoke, and brimstone." Okay. All right. That's the vision of the missiles flying through the air and detonating. Okay, verse 18, "By these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths." Okay, like I was talking about, the missiles, the detonation. Okay, verse 19, For the power is in their mouth and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents and had heads, and with them they do hurt. Yeah, it's going to hurt, all right. All right. To turn this place into a vast wilderness. All right. So, I mean, hey, there might be some tidal waves to make this image become a reality just for a moment before the missiles actually drop, but it's not going to be a long time as these post-apocalyptic movies, films, comic books, and graphic novels depict. Okay. Well, you can check this out. I'm not sure where you can actually find this. I'd actually purchased this myself because I'm just a collector. And but I'm sure you can find Commodity has a lot of different titles out there. When you open up the books, you see images like this all throughout, and just like I said, it just shows you how the elite, they know. And even as I was bringing out earlier with Jack Kirby not seeing the Planet of the Apes movies, but knowing the concept and knowing the outline, shows you how they know the end of America is going to be, aka Babylon the Great. Okay, well, I just wanted to share that. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, who gives me the strength and the spirit to continue to strive and endure in these last days. Shalom to the hopeful elect, and on to the next video.